Hey, everybody. Before we get into the main part of the episode, I wanted to start off with some news that you probably already heard about. Last week on Wednesday, we got the news that unfortunately, my friend Donna, who you've all heard on the show plenty of times before, she was a major part of the show. And I mean, some of you might not have heard, um, but if I'm babbling just because it's still such a shock. But we just found out that she had passed last week. She had been battling a rare form of leukemia, which came on suddenly for her. And it just went quick, I guess. There was just, unfortunately, I didn't have much news. She had, I would get news here and there. We were supposed to record um the final episode for last year, which was the annual um top 10. But the day we were supposed to record, she had to go back into the hospital, because she'd been in and out of the hospital since um around October. And yeah, I just it's still such a weird shock. I keep thinking she's still here in a way, but also at the same time, like, because even I wasn't getting much communication from her, which is totally understandable. She was dealing with all this and she had her family with her and everything. So, she's did what she needed to do to take care of herself. And it's heartbreaking. I just don't know what more to say about it. I do have a plan to do something of a tribute for her. My daughter Katrina and I are going to do the top 10 of last year in her honor. So stay tuned for that. Um, we had hoped to get it out this last week, but Katrina just hasn't been able to uh, sit down and do it yet, just with school and work and everything. So I am. That's my plan. I still trying to figure out if there's something else I want to do as a tribute to her, and I kind of haven't figured that out yet. If anybody has an ideas of what you'd like to hear in that regard, I'd be open to that. Um, but I think that doing the top 10 and talking about Donna during the process of that will be um, a really good way to do that. I may try to incorporate some other people as well into it, to maybe give some kind of um, tribute to her from their perspectives as well. Like I said, I still haven't figured it out. I really want to do something, but it's still come as a shock. Even I didn't find out until like midday, or no, it was even the evening of last Wednesday. So it was a shock. So, to say the least. Um, but yeah, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep doing this podcast, because you know, one, it gives me something to do, and two, it just I feel even if she's not here, she'll be here in spirit. Um, Her and I started our podcast right around the same time, and we'd been talking about doing podcasts for a long time. And she managed to get hers out before I did. And go back and listen to her episodes. Not only of my podcast with her on it, but go back and check out her podcast. She was the rare person, I think, that could pull off doing a podcast all about herself. I certainly can't do it. Listen to me now. I'm just rambling. I don't have anything to, no notes, no nothing. I'm just rambling. Um, but go check out her podcast. It's still up. Donna, THA, the Dead. and go check it out. It's a lot of fun, and it's great to still be able to hear her, um, even though she's gone. And go check out some of the episodes that I've done with her. I've done a lot with her. She was on weekly with me for a long time. I still don't know if I'm going to have somebody else on to do the weekly segments yet. I might, um, but I also might not. So I haven't figured it out yet. It's been a lot. Um, but that being said, um, we're going to go ahead and jump into the rest of this episode. But I definitely wanted to uh, put this little section up here at the beginning so that people that might not have heard um, would know what was going on now, and you know keep those you love close, and we're only here for a short time, so let's love everybody we can and keep doing what we can. All right, well, stay tuned for the rest of the episode, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and it's the start of Black History Month, and we're kicking it off with something a little light and silly with Day Shift. Joining me for this episode is new guest Khalid Hussein. Khalid is rapper, writer, producer, director, and half of the dynamic hosting duo for Frankenstein's podcast, a creature feature podcast where it's all about the monster. Welcome to the show, Khalid.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Robert.
Yeah, great to have you on. So it's nice to have somebody new in here to kind of break up all the regulars I have. So it's always nice to do
No,
that.
it's nice to be in the passenger seat for a change. I'm usually hosting these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, no, every time I get the guest on another podcast, I'm always so happy because then I don't have to worry about editing or uploading or any of the other mess that comes with actually podcasting. It's always nice to be the guest. So
I mean,
all
I feel so pampered.
right. Well, tell me a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I
Yeah.
am half, like you said, of the duo that hosts Frankenstein's podcast. We've been going since about 2020, so 6 years now, which is crazy to think about.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
we talk about a lot of creature features. It's mostly film, but we have in the past been known to do graphic novels, short stories, and just full on novels, depending on who is the guest and what they want to pick. But it's all centered around my and my co-host Joe Praska's love of geekdom. And so it's just really fun to have guests on and just watch the light come on in their eyes as they get to talk about something they're so excited about, and it's a really fun thing to do for us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm very similar. I've got, my creepy and geeky, I mostly cover horror, but I've covered all of the MCU stuff, up all the movies anyway, and some of the TV shows up until this point. And then so I definitely kind of bridge a lot of that here and there when I can. So
Yeah,
yeah, so sounds pretty similar. So all
I
right.
mean, it's these days especially, it's nice to just have something that you can just kind of get excited about
Oh yeah.
unabashedly, I feel like.
Oh yeah. Well, and everybody's got a podcast now, and I think it's great because I think that everybody has a chance to be creative in their own ways, So it's a lot of
Absolutely.
fun as long as that's what you're doing it for. If you're looking for fame and fortune, you're probably not going to get there. I'm definitely
If you
nowhere
want
near
fame
there.
and
So
fortune, if you want fame and fortune in the podcast game, you need to have been a part of like a hit NBC sitcom 20
right.
years ago.
Oh
Everybody
man,
else is for the
it's
love of the game.
ridiculous. It's everybody's coming out with a podcast these days. Like everybody famous is suddenly coming out with podcasts. And it's great. Don't get me wrong. I get it. It's something to do on the side in between like jobs and stuff. Something to do with your friends and everything. But it does kind of put us a little bit lower on the tier,
I
unfortunately,
mean,
you know.
who knew how
But
fertile the ground really was?
exactly. But yeah, no, welcome to the show. Glad to have you. Um,
Thank you.
so today we are talking about the Netflix TV show, or not TV show, Netflix movie Day Shift with Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco and Snoop Dogg. And So we'll get into all of that. This is the first this is the directorial debut of J.J. Perry, who is a former stuntman, um, and sort of in the same vein, worked with a lot of the same people who worked in John Wick. He worked on John Wick, and this was actually co-produced by Chad Stahelski, who's directed all the John Wick movies. So it's very much has that kind of flavor to it, but also just feels like a loving ode to vampire movies, especially Lost Boys. Feels very much in that vein. Um, Set in L.A., which is always fun. Um, and I don't know. I This is only like the second time I've watched the movie, but each time I've watched it, I've loved it. And I've actually talked about it previously on another podcast that I was a guest on called Vampire Videos. Um, but I don't know. It's a silly. It doesn't take itself very seriously, and I love that. Um, and it just I don't know. It just really works for me. What did you think of it?
So I also had watched it one other time, but when I opened my Netflix up and I picked the movie, it said that I hadn't finished it. Uh which very possible because when I was watching the ending this time, it felt new. Um I don't think that that's an indictment on the movie. I think that's just kind
Right.
of the Netflix of it all. It really feels like you, especially with most streamers now, you kind of just you pick it up and you step away when you want and you come back, and it's very much designed for that. So I don't say that as an
True.
indictment on the movie. Um, I really enjoyed the movie this time though. I got all the way
Yeah.
through it. um, I I a lot of laugh out loud moments for me.
Oh yeah.
I've been all in on Jamie Foxx since like the Jamie Foxx show, which was probably my introduction to him in
Yeah.
the 90s. The guy just he just has a range, unlike a lot of
Yeah.
actors, that it reminds me of like old vaudeville. He's like so musically gifted while also being comedically gifted, and then he can also just dip into drama, as we saw with his like Oscar winning turn in Ray.
Yeah.
So this movie I think is very much in his wheelhouse. I'm kind of surprised it took him this long to do kind of a fantasy action film, but I think he delivers. I was really impressed by Snoop Dogg's turn. I think that they gave him just enough so as to
Yeah.
not ruin the mystique of Snoop Dogg. Like he's very much
Yeah.
just playing Snoop Dogg with a minigun.
He's literally
Um
just playing Snoop Dogg. Yeah.
and Dave Franco is one of those guys that I'm always rooting for him, even if I don't necessarily know if like that investment's gonna ever pay off big.
Right.
I'm just happy to see him get work. I'm like, this guy, he's doing something right.
I
Um, so
yeah.
so yeah, just first blush, I'm a big fan of Day Shift. I'm officially a
Yeah.
convert.
Yeah, I think this one doesn't suffer from the same problem that I feel like a lot of Netflix movies do. And I feel like a lot of Netflix movies are about 20 to 30 minutes too long. And if they had just, I don't know, tightened it up somewhere in the course of that, a lot of movies that I enjoy but not love, they would be better. This one didn't feel like that one. This one feels pretty tight, and really kind of want making me made me want more of the like the background, the story, the lore, and everything else like that.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of exposition heavy at times. Dave Franco is the exposition guy, telling all the lore and everything, but even still, there's still more that you could get. You still kind of want if you're interested in that kind of stuff, which I am.
Oh,
But I
100%.
agree. but I agree. Yeah, Jamie Foxx, he's great in this. Um, he's kind of making a little name for himself on Netflix. He did this one. He did another one called Project Power, which is kind of like almost like a superhero movie. He did another one with Cameron Diaz recently, an action flick. I haven't seen that one.
They clone
Um,
Tyrone. If you haven't seen that,
oh
that's
God, I love They Clone Tyrone. I covered it last year. Yes, thank you. They cloned
yeah.
Tyrone. And again, they cloned Tyrone. I love the movie. That one could have been trimmed up only about 10 minutes, and I think it would have been perfectly fine.
Mhm.
But oh my God, don't even get me started. I love They Clone Tyrone. Um, and talk about a great
Yeah,
performance by Jamie Foxx. He's so good in that. So,
it's such a
but
great
yeah,
like genre piece, like black
yes,
exploitation. I think to an extent, I was hopeful that Day Shift would like lean into some of that and be more black
yeah,
exploitation heavy, but I'm not necessarily mad with the direction they went. But like
yeah,
that's my like if you want to just get 100% like thumbs up from me, just you put a
yeah,
little black exploitation pastiche onto it, and
yeah.
I'm sold.
I think that's one of the interesting things about it. Um, Unfortunately, in terms of blackness in this movie, it's pretty much just on the screen. You just got, Jamie Foxx and Snoop Dogg. Um, Everybody behind the screens, the people who wrote it were white. JJ Perry, I'm not sure if white or whatever, but definitely not black. So there's definitely not that kind of it feels, at least to me as a white person, feels like a black movie, in terms of, at least with the music choices and a lot of what Jamie Foxx is a producer on this, so I think he probably had some good say in this, in terms of tone and everything. I do agree with you. I think that if they leaned into some black exploitation, it would be the cherry on top of what would make this like really work well. And I think that's kind of what They Clone Tyrone really kind of dug into, with that little bit there, that it made it work just that much better. Um, but I agree. I
Ab-
think Dave Franco's great in this. He's the perennial sidekick, which is fine. I think he's found his niche and he does it well. I'm
yeah,
sure he wants
yeah.
to do more, but
He's in that like Ben Schwartz lane of
yeah,
like you put him next to the star and
yeah.
they can just make him sing, you
He's
know.
the plucky comic sidekick, and it works. It works real well. Um, so
Absolutely.
um,
Hey, Joe Pesci was once a plucky sidekick. That's not
yeah,
necessarily a bad place
absolutely.
to be. Make of it
No,
what you
it gets
will.
work. It gets work, and it gets your name. Like, I'm sorry, but people, I think Dave Franco is fairly well known at this point for doing what he does, and it's not a
Yeah,
bad thing. So, um,
absolutely. I It's interesting you say about I'm curious, I guess, when Jamie Foxx was attached to the project as opposed to when the project was created and envisioned. Because, I mean, there's a couple of things that just stand out. I mean, the top one being like a black male lead named Bud Jablonski, which
yeah,
is, and I get it. Like, people have names. There's always a story to a name and stuff, but like that feels at the very least like a race blind name when written,
right,
and they just kind of work from there as opposed to like what would it mean for a vampire hunter in the San Fernando Valley, and he's low income and he's black. Like, I wonder if the script had started from that point, what the movie would have looked like.
right. Yeah, it is curious as to exactly what the inception of that is. I don't think it either could have been a race blind name, or maybe it was just going against type, in terms of
Yeah.
just the naming for that. Um there- Unfortunately, there's not that much background that I could dig up for the movie. Um so just that it was JJ Perry's directorial debut. Um and just, yeah, it's not, I don't think it's a bad thing. The the Bud Jablonski of it all and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's kind of fun because it's just definitely not a typical what you would think somebody would write as a black person's name for a movie or something like that. They would go for
Yeah.
something a little bit more, at least more. Bud Jablonski just is such a weird name. Even for a white dude, that's a weird name. So it's
Yeah,
such a weird name.
it's
So I like that they
not
did
even a
it.
white dude, it's a Polish dude, like as far as I could, like I'm from Minnesota, like you told me I'm about to meet someone named Bud Jablonski, I'm expecting like a guy that's got like multiple bowling trophies, like
Right, right,
not necessarily like what Jamie Foxx's character is in this movie.
right, right. Oh man. No. But yeah, no, I like the actors that are cast in this. Everybody's doing a fairly good job in it. I think Peter Stormare's in this, which I hardly see him and stuff anymore. He
Love him.
pops in and out of stuff. I love Peter Stormare. He was so big in like the late '90s, and then he didn't vanish. He's one of those actors that always go, "Where did he go?" He's been working the whole time, but
Yeah, I mean
he's
he's
been doing
really big
stuff
in
I
the
never
TV sphere.
noticed. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
like
you know,
a lot of these actors that we used to like are just like sucked into a TV show for like 8 years at a
right.
time. I think he was doing like Sons of Anarchy and just like the same character for like years.
Well, he
So
was
it's
on a
nice to see
show.
him.
Yeah, he was on a show called Swedish Dicks for a while. So,
I don't even. That sounds awesome. I've never heard of that show, but I'm glad he's getting work because every time I see him on screen, it's a
oh
delight.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. No, he's so fun. He always commits, so which is really great.
Yeah,
Um
absolutely.
but yeah, I think overall like there's just this I love the vibe of the whole movie. It's set in LA, but it's not all the typical LA locations. Part of that's because they filmed some exterior locations here and there in LA, but most of it was actually filmed closer to me in Atlanta. Which
I was
isn't a
gonna
surprise
say,
because yeah, a lot of stuff is filmed in Atlanta. So,
well, I'm from the valley. I'm in the valley. I've lived in Van Nuys
oh, okay.
for like over 5 years. So when you start naming all of these like valley areas, it's like, oh yeah, there's like a vampire fight in Northridge, and you did this and that, and I'm just like, that's 10 minutes away. That's crazy. And so it was like exciting on one level to because like as a film writer myself, like a screenwriter myself, I have like a deep affection for the valley, and I just think that like it's so full of characters and so full of stories that it got me
Yeah,
excited when they placed it in the valley. But I do wish they had done a little bit more with it, and like the car
yeah,
chase scene, which I'm sure we'll discuss. Like I kept
yeah,
looking like, is this the valley? I'm pretty sure it's LA, but it's some like that when they're driving through the LA River, that's obviously LA, but
yeah,
like it didn't have that personal touch that I was maybe like hoping
yeah,
for.
yeah. And I think that's just because it was probably the some of that stuff was filmed in the Atlanta area. Um,
Yeah,
and it's so weird because like they obviously had to film some of it, like you said, in the LA River. They like it's an iconic area where they had to film that. The
Terminator 2.
chase, Terminator 2, Grease, like there's so
Yeah.
many Drive, there's so many like scenes, there's so many movies that have used that area for scenes. It's just incredible. So yeah, it just I did, as somebody who was born in California, but hasn't lived there since he was a kid. It's still I always have this like I don't know, not fascination, but I always have this um I don't even know how to say it. This it always feels good to watch movies about LA, especially. And just and to see the scenes here and there and just like you said, the names and everything like that's always a lot of fun to catch when you're watching this stuff. I just like movies set in LA. And they just,
Yeah.
and especially because they do a lot of stuff there, especially when it's tied to Hollywood. So it's great when they kind of get out of Hollywood though and get into the other areas that are a lot of
Right.
fun in
And
their own
because
because
of
they have unique identities, each of these little towns and stuff. So go ahead.
true totally. Yeah. And I mean because all these directors like because of Hollywood have some like relationship with LA, like a lot of them came up in these same streets. Like there
Hmm.
is just like a familiarity to when a director shoots in LA that like you maybe don't get from when they're shooting somewhere for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I moved out here because the movies made me love LA, you
Yeah.
know. uh so yeah, I mean, I give them points for thinking beyond the basic like LA
Yes.
hallmarks with this movie. I think that it's a choice and a deliberate one to set it in the valley for the most part, and
Right.
to have these characters adjacent to Hollywood without ever really talking about it, because LA is way bigger than Hollywood.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. There's so many neighborhoods um like surrounding LA. It's kind of like LA is like a metro area, so there's so many other little towns and everything that surround it that have nothing to do with Hollywood or anything else to do with that kind of stuff. So it's always nice to see them play in the areas that are kind of adjacent to it, so that it's not exactly like all that area. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I just saw a list. I guess the LA Times just put out the 101 best um, movies set in LA, not just filmed in LA, but set in LA. And I believe Day Shift was actually on the list, so which was amazing because I was like, that's crazy that out of all the probably more than 101 that were available, Day Shift made it on the list. So
Wow.
yeah.
I got to check that list out. I got to cross reference it with my own biases.
Yeah, I was not surprised which movie made it to number one, but yeah.
Is it like
um,
Beverly Hills Cop or something?
no, Beverly Hills Cop was low on the list, which was crazy. No,
Wow,
Chinatown was number one. So
that makes sense. that's
yeah,
a good pull. That's You're not gonna
yeah,
get anyone mad with that pick.
right. So, um, but yeah, no, that all aside, like and talking about all the vampire stuff and everything, this one very much pulls um from a lot of the typical vampire lore, but it kind of adds some new twists to it. I love the different vampire types that we've got in
Mm-hmm.
here, um which kind of plays with the conventions of all the different kinds of vampires we see in the different you know movies and stories and stuff. And then um the pulling of the teeth to to because the teeth are worth money, which is so funny. And then there's a whole union of vampire
So
hunters.
interesting. Yeah.
Just like the whole mythology is like so good, and like I want more. I want another movie of this. This just is like it feels so ripe for sequels. And so I hope we really get some more. I know that it like it did well like when it first came out. It was pretty popular. But like critically, I don't think it did super well. A lot of people complained about the vampire lore and stuff like that being too dense and whatever. And I'm like, how is this any worse than any other vampire movie we get?
I mean, I do think that because like vampire lore is so scattershot, it's not necessarily like zombies where there's got like hard and fast rules that most people abide
Right.
by. Sometimes vampires are just like witches with like fangs, and then
Yeah.
other times they're just like very tactile, like they're just strong and they have like a limited amount of abilities. And so
Yeah.
I do think that it's such a like open sandbox that I commend this movie for going for it. It feels like they very much had hopes for an expanded world for
Yeah.
this, which I would have been all for.
Yeah.
I do I can see the criticism of like it feels like homework when Dave Franco's just like listing
Yeah.
off all the vampire subcategories and then
But
like
it's not
saying
that
like
bad.
it's not that bad, but he also says a lot of it like it's like obvious when it's not. Like it's like they would never all cohabitate. I'm like, why? I don't think I've heard any of these subspecies speak for themselves. Like I have no frame of reference for anything outside of your conversation. So I think
Uh,
that's like that's the age old issue with filmmaking of show don't tell.
yeah.
There's only so much real estate you have on screen at any given time and what you can do with it. And I can see how like they came to the like this version of the film of like there's only so much you can do, there's only so much you can show. We want to entertain as much as inform, so there's going to be some things sacrificed at that end.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into the story a little bit. Because overall, the story is about how Jamie Foxx's character Bud needs to make a bunch of money because his ex-wife is going to take their daughter to Florida. And so he needs to make a bunch of money, but he's been kicked out of the union because he, violates their codes too often. And so he gets a last chance to join the union again to make some money because he's got to make a bunch of money in a week. But unfortunately, he gets saddled with Dave Franco, who's a desk jockey, who doesn't know anything about being in the field. But the boss really wants to bust Bud, and that's where kind of all the hijinks ensues because Dave Franco's character doesn't know crap about what he's doing. He knows all the book stuff, but he's never been in the field. And so now he's jeopardizing Bud and uh just yeah, just it's a good setup. I think it's a great setup for a movie. It gives you that it's like a buddy cop thing, like the opposites that become friends over the course of the movie. And um just I don't know, it plays with all the regular conventions that's what we've seen in the movies. The shitty boss, the bickering buddy cop dynamic, the overarching criminal scheme by the head vampire woman who's trying to uh make her play for all of LA. Um I love the whole thing of it because I don't mind that. I think it's weird when people get really weird and precious about remixing. Because that's what this is. It's just a remix
Yeah,
of all these conventions and stuff like that. But it's if the writing is just well enough and if the performances are good enough, I'm there. Like, and that's all I want out of something. It's just like give me something entertaining, give me something fun, and a good action horror comedy. I'm like all in for that kind of thing.
absolutely. I think that there's something to be said about like audiences have lost the suspension of disbelief, and I think that that's like such a integral
Absolutely.
it's an integral part of being a viewer, a participant in stuff like this, and it's not just suspension of disbelief that vampires exist, it's suspension of disbelief that this is maybe the 15th odd couple cop dynamic that you've seen,
Right. Yeah.
like after a certain point you have to kind of just go, okay, this is the story they're telling, how well did they tell that story, and you got to move on.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Like this is one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's a huge pet peeve right now because of the whole Stranger Things stuff that's going on, all that. The finale is like everybody's pissing me off about that stuff. Like the show's over. It was a great finale. Let it go. You don't need everything answered. Like, I'm sorry. I watched all of Lost, okay, and they didn't tell you shit by the end. You were
I
lucky to
was in
get the
the college
breadcrumbs.
dorm quad every week with all of the other freshmen watching that final season,
Oh my
struggling
God.
along with you. I feel you.
Yeah, I mean that's my thing. It's just like there's look, we want it like because this is something I was mentioning to my daughter recently too, was that when I watched Lost originally, it was the early days of podcasts. And so I used to listen to a bunch of podcasts that would break down all the like background stuff and was all the like little things that they were like, oh, well, this means that, and this means that, this little thing that they have in the background, and this one little tiny scene, they weren't like they would theorize and they would say maybe this means that, but they were also very careful to go, it probably doesn't mean anything, but this book in the background is about this. and it kind of ties into the story in a way. And so they would have theories, they would have like that kind of stuff, but it was just like, I think that's honestly, I think Lost is kind of where people Lost and shows like Lost afterward have kind of broken people. um because everybody wants answers and they want to theorize and everything. The problem is you can theorize all day long.
And
100%. I'm
people
on
will.
board with that. But just and they will. But just understand at the end of the day the writers are going to tell their story, um and it might not be the one you want, and you have to be okay with that. um Regardless, I mean, you could be disappointed, but I mean, you can't be demanding that there's a secret finale somewhere.
And if
So
I can add, you also have to be okay with like not being outsmarted. I don't think that there is a single
yes,
writer's room in the world that's going to outsmart like the hive mind that is the internet. You know,
no,
if
absolutely. Go ahead.
if you're making something so good that people engage with it like that pathologically, like at a certain point you have to go like, well, this isn't a competition anymore. Like
Yeah,
I can do what I do, but odds are that like unless I just outright lie to you for 9 episodes, you're gonna
yeah.
have a good idea of what the 10th episode holds.
Well, and the interesting thing about the whole Stranger Things thing is totally wild off a topic. If anybody's listened to my show, you know I go off on wild tangents. But the stuff that the audiences were coming up with were super valid and super interesting. I was like, oh wow, if this is where they do take it, that would be really cool. When it didn't happen that way, I was like, okay, but this is still cool. What they're
Yeah.
doing is really nice. And then we got a 45-minute epilogue. Nobody gives you an epilogue. They just end the story and let you deal with the fact that, oh, you're never going to know what happened to these people. They gave us such a great definitive ending while still kind of leaving it open.
Yeah.
That, it was just, it's one of those things. And I know, thankfully my audience is low, so I'm not going to get a lot of hate or anything for my controversial opinions on this. It shouldn't be controversial though. It's just, I don't know. I really enjoy. I cried so much during that final episode. It was ridiculous, and so
Oh,
it.
Dustin's valedictorian speech, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. Everything about
Yeah.
that last episode was like perfection to me. Sure, I could quibble about minor things all day long. Would I like more depth to certain things? Absolutely. I'm not going to get it, and I got to be okay with that. Just like everybody.
And what they
Light.
gave us is yeah, what they gave us is great. Like
Yeah.
especially considering like the how big a plane they had to land.
Hmm.
I'm personally I'm a season 4 super fan. Like that's probably my favorite of the series, which a
Yes.
lot of
Same.
people have issues with it because like the characters are all spread apart, but I feel like
Oh, I
that's when it
thought
was
that worked
firing on
so
all
well for them.
cylinders.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
100%. Like they all had
100%
something to
agree with you.
do.
Yep. Yeah, no,
And
they
so
all had
see,
something to do.
yes. And so season 5 for me, I think I love the first stretch of episodes that they released on Christmas. I think they did such a good job of like playing with that like Hogan's Heroes subterfuge thing against the army
Hmm.
and just setting up the stakes. I was underwhelmed by the middle half. And then the like you said, the ending really just kind of sealed it for me. One, this is literally the fifth time most of them are going up against this thing. So
Yeah.
I wasn't like, can they do it? Like, are they up to the task? They're the most experienced at this task.
Right?
So
It'd be different if it was like a different group of people going up against Vecna and everything else like that. It was like these people have like fought for several years doing
yeah.
this. They know what they're doing at this point, and they're all together for once, like
And
completely together. You
the
know,
first time most of them did it, they were literal children. They're all adults now. Like Lucas is out there Spartan kicking Demogorgons like with a person in his arm. So
right?
yeah, it's gonna be a pretty quick finale in terms of like they come up with a plan. They're mission disciplined, so they'll execute it. And then yeah, let's
Yeah.
see. Let's just see where life took them. I personally was not like can't wait to see some kids die when that finale came along. So
I was so glad when everybody lived. I was like,
yeah,
this is brilliant. I was like, oh my God, I expected them to like kill at least one or two people, and I was like glad they didn't. And then like for the people, like there were people who definitely were like, oh well, they didn't kill anybody, so I'm disappointed. I'm like, what, why? Everybody lived. And
I mean,
I thought the
it,
Steve
it it
fake
was
out
never
was
that
great
show.
too. Because I
Yeah, yeah.
everybody was like, oh, and then it was like, okay, no, we're fine.
It was never that show. Like this is a
No.
show that has loved its main core cast, and it sent them off the
It's
only way it could.
very much a loving ode to the 80s.
Yeah.
And in those movies, everybody lived too, you know? So it's like the heroes always lived. So we got into this stage in the 2020s where we expect like multiple people to die because that's just how things have gotten. And I'm like, I'm okay with my fantasy show having a fantasy ending where everybody lives, you know? So
There's too much
I
of a
don't know.
premium on being surprised versus satisfied, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway,
Yeah.
let's get back to
Anyways.
day shift. At least we were still in the wheelhouse. We were still talking about a Netflix property. So
True that. We're on brand.
so yeah, but getting back to day shift. And again, this is going back to what we were saying about this being kind of a what people could consider a cookie cutter kind of movie. Yes, it very much is. It's a John Wick inspired, inspired by John Wick, Lost Boys, just any kind of cop duo similarity type thing, anything like that. It wears its influences well on its sleeve. It's not trying to hide it either, and that's what I think is weird when people get all frustrated with it. And I'm like, yeah, we need popcorn movies. We need movies that are just simple and easy and fun to entertain us. We don't need high-minded things every freaking time.
I mean, there's a time and a place for it, you know? I think that,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that these movies are just as valid as the Oscar bait that comes out every like winter.
Yes.
And I think this is an admirable swing at that. I will say, as far as influences, I also got big Training Day influences from this, just in the sense of like a hard-boiled vet that's like secretly like really needs like a lot of money in a certain amount of time, that's driving his mission that isn't like
Yeah.
immediately clear to everyone. I thought, although I think they tried a little too hard to make Bud like a good guy, family man, and I think that if they'd have given him a little bit more bite, because the things he does and the things he's accused of in this, I don't necessarily always see on screen. Like he strikes me as a kind of consistently virtuous man for the most part, and then you get
Yeah.
like the union boss or whatever listing all of his crimes. He got someone killed once, and he's like supposedly like really reckless, but I don't know. In the movie, he's impatient because he needs money and he doesn't want to follow a bunch of bureaucratic rules. But like
Yeah.
as the audience, we're kind of primed to agree with him. Like that
Yeah.
all that stuff slows you down.
Well, and I think that's ultimately where it comes from too, is that you're looking at like, you know, because it even at the end, the union boss comes in and starts rattling off all these things, and Dave Franco's like, yeah, but there's this other rule, or there's
Yeah.
this other like exception for this and everything. And so he meets each one of those things with the response. And that's how, you know, where Bud is acting isn't necessarily sure he's violating codes, but he's violating them because it's necessary to violate them. So it's not like he's like just some reckless dude. He's going in prepared, ready as best with all the information that he can. I mean, you see it in the times where he's with Seth, Dave Franco's character, when he's with him, and Seth is not prepared. Seth knows all the code, but doesn't know shit about actually being in the field. Whereas Bud knows about being in the field and about those decisions you have to make in the field that aren't going to jive with the code, you know? And so I think that's what makes those scenes better is just that, yeah, you've got the bureaucratic people saying, "Oh, well, you're not obeying the thing," but Buzz just like, "I, but you want me to do the job, right?" Like, you can't tell me that everybody else is doing the job is doing it by the book also.
Mm.
So, that's the thing. I like that. That's where I think that there's a disconnect there. Just that there's no way everybody's doing it by the code. So
I mean, Big J is not doing it by code.
no, and he's like the number one hunter he has.
There's no
So
way Big Bertha is like union approved. That thing is
yeah,
super noisy and you can't aim it for crap. Like you're
no,
gonna you're gonna eventually get into like an incident.
yeah,
Um I will say though, like I think that there would have been something to be said for like if he did have a little bit more bite to him and it was like
sure,
character motivated that he had like an actual like contempt for the rules even when the rules are good for you. Here they don't necessarily ever like show that the rules are good for you other than just that it's bad that
yeah.
Bud broke them.
Yeah. I think it's I I kind of want to disagree with you on this because I think being a family man, very devoted to his daughter, and isn't necessarily like a bad husband. He just was keeping the secret that he was a vampire hunter. And it made like because there was some kind of secret there, it made the relationship between him and his wife difficult. Like I think that overall, like he's this good person. I think that's what kind of baked into the character that over it'd be different if he was kind of like a shitty like husband, maybe on top of that or something else like that. But I guess to me, being that he seemed like he was a okay husband, and a good father, that um that would extend into his work in a sense. Sure, again, he's breaking the rules, but he's breaking the rules because it's necessary to do the job he needs to do. Like he didn't seem to be just like I get what you're saying, but like I don't know that I would have wanted to see him be like this kind of like rough edged guy, like that
Mm,
was really kind of like, oh, I'm gonna break like a Riggs character from Lethal Weapon, who was just like,
yeah.
didn't follow the rules at all. He's not like this is my thing. I don't feel like he's disobeying the rules on purpose. I feel like the circumstances means he has to do what's necessary in the moment. And that's how it ends up breaking the rules. So, because in
I
the
get
in the
that.
description it says that he's a former paratrooper. I didn't remember that being in the
What?
uh
I kept waiting for any kind of backstory.
yeah, yeah, it says in the on the Wikipedia it says a former paratrooper and down on his luck vampire hunter. So I was like, okay, I don't remember that being anywhere in the story. But so if that's an aspect of it, of course he's got military background. So again, maybe he was somebody who's used to at least not maybe he still bristles with authority because he does like to do things on his
Yeah.
own, but he really just likes to do things the way they need to get done. He's very prepared. Like that's the thing. Like they show him in his
He's
shop and
like
he knows all the rules and
super
he's super
into
prepared.
vampire. He's super
Yeah,
into vampire hunting and it doesn't sound like a high paying job. You know what I mean? Like for like the loot that you need to get and stuff. Like once you get kicked out of the union to like stick with that versus
yeah,
because he's got a lot of skills and obviously this is where suspension of disbelief comes in of like in this world vampire hunting is as lucrative as X, so it
yeah.
fine, that's the job he chose, that's what he's got experience in. It's just interesting, I guess. I mean, for as much as like he keeps it from his family and for as much as like he has to like lay on the line every night, like I
Hmm.
I still don't necessarily walk away feeling like I know Bud outside of like one or two things that the movie
No,
like shows me.
absolutely. Yeah, he doesn't. You don't get much of a sense of who he is outside of being a family man and um and hunting vampires, which again
Yeah.
I don't need much. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's just enough what you need for this movie. You give
Yeah.
him you give him the stakes. He wants to stop his wife from taking his daughter away, and then he needs to just make money in general. Just for all that, and he's good at what he does. He knows what he's doing. He's good at it. And
Yeah.
it makes sense in a way. Um,
That's
and
fair.
he's to me as a like I'm not wearing a Hawaiian shirt now, but as a Hawaiian shirt leveler, I love his style in this movie, man. He's
Oh, so many cool looks.
rocking
Yeah.
so many cool Hawaiian shirts in this movie. It's great.
Oh man, when he gives his black and white hoodie to Dave Franco, and
Yeah,
Franco kind of like gets to be his own little action like star now. That
yeah,
was cool. I like that. The wardrobe rules.
yeah. That was funny.
Everything Big J wore.
But yeah, no, it's I think I think the only detriment in this movie, the only not detriment, but like the only thing that I found negative in this movie is really the villain. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think she's an overly compelling villain. Because like just the whole she's taking on the other vampires to broaden her power base because she wants to move into she wants to be more progressive in her movement. She's creating this whole sunscreen so that they can exist during the daytime as well, which is not a bad idea. I think that's a funny thing to do. But
In
it,
addition, in addition to also being a real estate
yeah,
tycoon.
yeah, exactly. So
It's
she's a
a
real
lot of
estate
irons
developer.
in the
Yeah,
fire.
yeah, which is great. I mean, if you can make some good real estate moves in LA, I mean, that's pretty good.
It's so
Um,
convenient that that
right.
Bud's ex-wife is selling her house to the vampire villain.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so funny. We have a injury lawyer here in the Atlanta area who has billboards everywhere. Like I her advertising budget is must be huge because she's got billboards on like almost every block. I see them like it's ridiculous. You can't go like as soon as we went on a trip last summer as a family. We went out west, and then when we came back, as soon as we entered back into Georgia, there was one of her billboards. We were just like, this is ridiculous. It's not even near Atlanta. Um, so that's what I imagine this character's like got her just she's that kind of level where she's just got so many billboards everywhere like I've got a home to sell you or I'll buy your home or whatever.
It's just like that fascinating like I don't know, like I do like that as like a villain touch of like you're so limited in vision that like you have been around presumably since like Mayan times, and like the highest aspiration you have is to become like a real estate mogul. It's just, and I get on one hand I get it, but on the other hand I'm like, man, immortality was wasted on you.
Well, and it's so funny though too because like I kind of get it at the same time because you're like, okay, well, I've lived a long time. There's only so much I can do. One, because I can only go out at night. Two,
Sure.
because uh there's only so much I can do that won't tip off the humans.
Mm.
And so, you've got to do just enough. And that's why I always figure, like, for me, I just always figure that vampires are just going to be more like like crime based than anything else. They're going to be like controlling a lot of the crime and stuff. That's how I figure they should be, I guess, or just power brokers in some way, shape, or form. Um,
Yeah.
I think it would be hard to do um just vampires taking over. It's always such a weird it's always such a weird thing. Like I don't know. It's just what would vampires do? You know, so
I think they would be reality TV stars, and we would all watch them religiously.
yeah.
That
But I
makes
do
the
like
most sense to me.
so I'm currently watching the Underworld series as well because I'm about to talk
Ooh.
about one of them on another show. But it's so funny too because in that one, it's just the vampires fighting the werewolves and humanity is there, but they don't really know. And actually, the vampires are trying to like actually like they don't actually hunt humans. They actually have a created blood supply for themselves. And so it's so weird. It's so like weirdly separate from everything. And I'm just like, I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be whenever it takes it that bit out and you're not really hunting humans and you're not really dealing with humans, it just feels like, okay, well, just
You could be
it's a
anything. It didn't even have to be
yeah,
vampires.
yeah, exactly. I get it, but I don't get it at the
Yeah.
same time.
No, I get it. It's borderline just like it's just a fantasy story at that point.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you're talking about like these dynastic families and like bloodlines and stuff. It feels very Lord of the Rings or Game of Thronesy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, but let me see. Um, what else? But I think overall the movie is generally lots of fun. I think there's a few references to the Lost Boys, which is great because Lost Boys is always a great reference to go back to. Um, there's a moment where Bud's family they she discovers that Bud killed somebody she was close to. And then you find out that it's actually her daughter, which was this old lady at the beginning of the movie. Um, uh, and that is something else I want to talk about. The fight sequences in this are great. Not only are
Amazing
they just
fights.
intense, but they also hired people from like Cirque du Soleil to do like so many weird acrobatic things that they just could not pull off in anything. And I saw JJ Perry actually had been wanting to do this for a long time as a stunt coordinator, but nobody would take him up on it on any of the movies that he was doing. And so then he was like, finally, I get to do it in my own movie. So which was great because it's like the sequence, basically the sequence where the vampires kind of like folded in half and they like come out of it and stuff. Like it's just it's crazy the amount of like because I guess what they said was there was like 4 or 5 people for the old woman to do it. It was like the actual actress, the stunt person, the fight stunt person, um and the acrobatic stunt person. So it was just like that's insane for one sequence, but it is such a great sequence, and they do it later on too when the with the whole house with the nest.
Yeah, the Simi
Um
Valley
oh
house.
man, that I
That
think is even
yeah,
better. Yeah.
that's my favorite
Oh
fight
yeah.
scene in the whole film. I love the Nazarian brothers.
Yeah.
Um, Another reason that like I want to see more movies set in this world. Like I want to see them
Yes.
come back. But yeah, anytime they put Bud with like a competent team of fighters, it was just like so fun to watch.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
No.
the grandma fight at the beginning
Yeah. Well, that
really
sets up everything
set the
real well.
tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too because like I remember the advertisements for this, the couple of trailers that came out before this, and they like even billed it as like being from the producer of John Wick,
Mhm.
and then from the people who made John Wick, and I was just like, okay, I'm in with this. I love John Wick, um, and so yeah, those fight. I knew the fight sequences were going to be insane. But they were even more insane than I could even imagine. Those ones in the nest in the Simi Valley house, that whole fight sequence was so insane because it's like basically 3 of them because Seth is useless. But the other 3 are just wrecking shop in there.
It's
it's so insane how good they are
it's
at what they're
so
doing.
fun to and
Yeah.
it's so interactive too. Like the
Yeah.
house is like truly a
Yeah.
part of it. Like when they're busting through the walls, when they're beheading people with a plasma screen
Yeah.
television, it's all just like so clever and fun, and it feels like play more than anything else, and like
Yeah.
you're in on it, and it's so great for that.
Well, and I think that's what's fun is by having a former stuntman be the director. I think that's where he's thinking of all these different scenarios that you could possibly be doing in a movie and creating these very intricate and awesome fight sequences that you're just not going to get in even a traditional um action flick. So it's really great when one you can either trust in your stunt coordinators to really give you really great scenes, but also when the person is a former stunt coordinator, or former stunt person to do this kind of work. So it's always really cool to get that kind of scene stuff like what David Leitch has been doing in all of his movies post, John Wick as well. So
But even still, like because it's a vampire movie, like they lean into the cartoonish, you know?
yo,
Is
yeah.
I think in that same fight sequence in the Simi Valley house, he somehow hits a machete into a person's neck in such a way
Oh,
that it
and then it goes around
spins.
it. Yeah.
It's like that's Looney Tunes. There's no
Yeah.
physics there. And it beheads them.
And this is why, like, it's so funny. Again, I'm going to reference Underworld because I'm watching the Underworld movies and they're fine, but they don't lean into that like
Yeah.
absurdity, and that like that over the topness that I think would help that franchise just a little bit more. And obviously, I'm wrong because like that franchise went up to five sequels and like or five movies total, and people love them at least enough to keep going back for a while. Um,
You can't underestimate the power of Kate Beckinsale in leather pants. That's
t-
gonna drive some ticket sales.
too true, too true, too true. I will agree. That was probably high on the marketing.
Yeah. Did well
Yeah.
overseas.
I think it did well here in the US as well.
I bought a ticket.
There you go. All right. But yeah,
In
so yeah, go ahead.
sorry, in terms of influences, I do feel like the big one that we maybe you mentioned it at the top, but the big one for me is Blade.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
movie owes so much to Blade, especially the sequels, which do lean more into the cartoonish. Like the
Hmm.
Del Toro one really has fun with like, okay, these are immortals fighting. What's the silliest
Yeah.
way they could die?
Oh,
And
Trinity.
so
Trinity alone is so over the top.
Trinity,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
I love Trinity. Blade Trinity is probably my favorite of the Blade movies. I know it's sacrilege for everybody, but like that one is so good. There's so much fun in that. And it's just like, and that's that. Yeah, I can see where Day Shift kind of, is kind of a descendant of that in that way.
100%. And I mean, I think that like if Bud has any analog or like an ancestor, like I feel like if you told me like the Bud is like Blade's son or something, like that would have like put a few pieces together for me. But there's one quote that like so. Can you swear on this podcast? I don't want to swear if it's not
Absolutely. Absolutely.
okay. So the famous Blade line in one of I believe the first movie is some
Yeah.
motherfuckers wanna ice skate up hills. Is that it, more or
Uphill,
less?
uphill. Yep.
Yeah. So it was a nonsensical line. Like no one has ever been able to make heads or tails of it. And I feel like we might have a spiritual successor in this movie when Bud at one point says, "We survive anything. See me fighting a bear, pour honey on me." Uh, like that's some shit Blade would say.
It's true. That's true.
Like that to me is like this movie at its best when it really knows what it's like saying and doing.
I definitely feel like Jamie Foxx contributed to the script in terms of his dialogue for sure. It feels
Yeah.
very much in keeping with like his sensibilities, and the things that he likes to play as well. So um it's just, yeah, that's funny. That was such a weird out there line. You're just like, wait, what? Why?
It's
Um,
just like that like psychotic bravado that like you're just like sure
yeah.
man. Whatever you need to say to win the game like
Oh man. But yeah, later on in the movie, Bud's family gets captured, and he gets left there he gets knocked out and left there for his now turned friend Seth to feed on him, which was interesting too because they even had this little exchange. I noticed it on the second watch and everything. They had this exchange about how when somebody is turned, does it mean they lose their humanity? Does it mean that they become like a bad person or whatever, or were they always meant to be like that? And Bud is just like, when they become a vampire, all I see is dollar bills. Because that's all he sees it as is a business thing. He doesn't look at the how the person possibly used to be a human and may still be that way underneath it all. And so, but at that point, though, not only is he confronted by Seth, and where Seth kind of lunges at him uncontrollably and gets his head cut off in the process, but doesn't die, which was fun. But then he
Yeah, I
also,
the rules on what kills vampires in this are very elastic.
well, because they mention it too, because they talk about how some can lose their heads and reattach, and then how some um which comes into play later, some that can be staked in the heart but also still can live unless they're also shot with silver or whatever. So there's definitely different rules for different vampires, and like each species of vampires has a little bit of different rules. Um but yeah, it is a little elastic. There is some, the exposition was there in part to kind of like help. For the most part they did try to explain it, but
Sure,
I think
yeah,
that's where,
yeah,
yeah, a little bit. um I think that's where a second movie would be really great, to just kind of dive into it a little bit more. But then his neighbor, his new neighbor, who was actually the one who revealed that he had a family to the big bad uh, lady named Audrey. She the neighbor Heather, she is a vampire. Also turns out to be a vampire also, but is mostly a good vampire as well. So, and both Seth and Heather end up going with Bud to help him um, storm Audrey and get his family back, which was fun because you get some great sequences with all three of them. Especially like you said earlier, Seth just like suddenly becoming like super powerful because he's a vampire. He's got the power now of a vampire, but just like leaping over things and doing things that he just
he's a parkour
like. How did
savant
he gain the
now.
skill to do that? Just becoming a vampire gave him parkour skills.
I think
So
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like if I was suddenly like imbued with like the energy and
yeah,
like the knowledge that I can do most of that, I would probably be more willing to try it.
well, you
Where
wouldn't be
yeah,
hurt, even if you broke
exactly.
something, it would fix itself. So I could see that. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm tearing my ACL if I go downstairs too fast. So I'm right there with you. Like that's not something that like even if you told me I was a vampire, I would out the gate try. But
yeah,
he
yeah,
he has more faith than me.
yeah. I mean, but yeah, no, it makes for a great end sequence. I love the whole end sequence. Again, the three major big action sequences are a lot of fun. This one's a little bit, I think, lower on the scale than the first two. Um, Definitely not as exciting as those first two really big scenes. But this
How did
one's
you
still
feel
fun
about
for what
them?
it was. Go
How did
ahead.
you feel about them killing the familiars? That to me, I don't know. I'm always like, yes, like these are humans that have given themselves over to vampires, so they're as fair game as vampires. But at the same time, like going from seeing like black blood spilling out of monsters that you shoot to like suddenly you're just like opening fire on like 30 dudes, like you didn't announce yourself or anything. I don't know, maybe I'm too woke for this scene, but all that all that blood, all that gore, I was like, I don't know, man, now I'm not having as much fun.
I think it goes into what he says at the end, because that's one of the things the boss says, is like, he that was one of the rules he was saying that
Yeah,
he had gone against, was killing familiars and stuff. But they fired on them first, or they returned fire. So it was like it'd be one thing if they were just standing there and not do anything. They were just kind of you know hanging back or whatever. But because they were all actually fighting and trying to kill them also, I think that makes them fair play. Um, I
yeah, I
did
mean,
I did not have as much of a problem with that, for sure. I could see it if they were just hanging back, if they were just on the sides or something like that, and they weren't actively trying to hurt them. No, then I would think it would be you know needlessly done, and they were quote unquote innocent to a degree, but because they all had weapons, they all were shooting at them.
right.
Fair game.
Yeah, I guess it was just because it was like such a sharp turn from like it's only vampires getting hurt
Right.
to suddenly
Yeah.
just like an abandoned mall full of humans just getting laid to waste. I was just like, all right, we're doing it.
Yeah. Um, I thought the end sequence between him and Audrey was it was okay. I mean, it was fairly short. And if you'd been paying attention, fairly predictable. But again,
Mhm.
it didn't need to be overly drawn out. It did what it needed to do. And I think that it tied everything up, at least for now, nice and neat. So
I mean, it
um,
sounds like all he had to ever do was tell her he's a vampire hunter, and he would have
yeah,
he would have gotten his family back. They
he would have
don't.
solved everything right then.
That was not the deal breaker that he assumed it would be.
I would think now it would have been an even bigger deal breaker because she was like, well, you lied all this time. Then we got captured. If you had told me the truth before, maybe we could have done something to protect ourselves better. So I'm seeing a bigger
and
argument coming for him.
and I know
So,
we love Bud. We follow in his POV for the film, but maybe he should let his family go to Florida. Like
right?
he
Yeah.
is picking a job that like can only ever result in endangering his family,
Yeah, absolutely.
like
Well, at least at this point, they know, so they will take more steps to protect themselves. And maybe they'll be a little bit more aware of stuff going forward. So they'll put themselves in less danger. So
again, if Florida has less vampires, I would like I feel like maybe that should still be on the table.
I don't
That
know the
girl
fact.
is that girl's
Go ahead.
young. That girl is so young. Like I
Yeah.
know she wants to be a vampire hunter, but
I don't know the
I
fact that
just
the Union is everywhere. It's even in Paris and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure vampires are probably in Florida, even though Florida's pretty sunny also.
maybe
So
the union offers protections for families or something, because that's got to
yeah,
be
yeah.
a thing, like to
I would
incentivize.
assume so. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Especially when you've got somebody who's as talented and skilled as Bud is.
I
So,
they didn't show us anybody, Big J included, that was like as good as Bud in my
I'm
estimation.
telling you, like Big
Like
J, Big J was good. He wasn't that good. So I don't know why.
no,
Yeah, Big J was just a big rule follower apparently.
I
So
mean, I did love that he survived at the end.
yeah,
And it wasn't even one of those things where it was like a letdown or anything, because like they kind of made it clear that like his suicide vest was like mostly for vampire damage
yeah,
and not human damage. So I was like, yeah,
right,
why would he? Why
right,
he didn't go into that mission being like, I might have to kill myself. So it makes sense
yeah,
that like that's more just like his like just like trump card, like he's gonna bust that out when all
yeah,
else fails.
exactly.
Is he a
No.
vampire at the end? I couldn't tell. Like it was kind of
So
lit
I don't
darkly.
I don't know the rules about how they become vampires because some vampires like you get bit and then you have to uh
Drink
have the
from
blood of
them.
a vampire as well to
Mm.
then complete the process. Otherwise, you're just because I would assume not because just having somebody bite you because I'm assuming most of the familiars are a food source of
Because
some sort.
Seth got
So
turned off screen, right?
off
Like,
screen, yeah, we never saw exactly
yeah.
how that happened. Yeah,
So we never see anybody officially
yeah,
turned in this film, which
yeah. Yeah. So it is
mm,
again the lore is somewhat shaky in places. So again, something that would be nice to be fixed up with. I do like how they don't appear in the mirrors, but they appear still with all
yeah,
they appear as clothes just moving around,
that was a
which was a
cool
lot of
touch.
fun.
And like,
Yeah.
yeah, when Seth goes up to the mirror and he disappears, because like for 2 seconds I was like, wait, how can he see himself? And then he disappears, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that was cool.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I will say though, a good sequel idea would be to just have Big J be the baddie for the second movie, is
yeah.
like a turned vampire now.
Yeah, somebody who knows all their rules and everything that is about. So yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
somebody that can like go head on to the union, like he knows their ins and outs. If anybody's a threat, it'd be him.
Yeah. And then you would need somebody who is great with flaunting the rules of the union, so it would be perfect for
Yeah,
Bud. So yeah, that would be a good idea. That's not too bad.
Netflix, snap it up. Let's do
I'm
it. Let's
telling
make it
you,
happen.
man, they got to do it. JJ Perry's still making movies. He's made like two more movies since this, both with Bautista. So Dave Bautista.
Oh,
So yeah.
wow.
So what is it? They I don't think they've done super well. I haven't seen either one of them yet, but let's see.
Are they just
He's
straight
made
to streaming as well?
no, both of them went to the theaters, The Killer's Game
Oh,
and Afterburn. So
never heard of either.
yeah, they were they I don't think they lasted very long in the theaters. And Afterburn
Mm.
may have gone pretty straight to the theater. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's interesting though, because the Afterburn, which is the latest one, came out this year. It also starred Samuel L. Jackson. So
Wow. Well, I
yeah,
mean, there's just
well
so many,
and he's in a lot of stuff. So
mostly like Capital One commercials. Is that it? I feel like that's what I see him in these days. I was like, hey, get that check, Sammy.
I'm telling you, man, he's probably making more off those Capital One commercials than he does in any movie he ever makes. So
I mean, I'm like simultaneously jealous of his like trajectory and also kind of not. Like, if you tell me that like my hardest working years start like post 45, that's gonna bum me out. Like,
hey, man, I'm already fit. I'm turning 52 this year, so if it's gonna start getting harder for me, I don't know. That's gonna be a problem.
if it gets harder, it gets harder. But like, I don't want to. I wouldn't want to look into the crystal ball that's like you're gonna be busting your ass until you're well into
Yeah,
your 80s.
yeah.
Like that's
Here's my thing though, with Sam Jackson specifically, he's very particular about what he does. He does work that he wants to do. He doesn't do it
Mhm.
for the awards. He doesn't do it necessarily for the money. He does it because he's interested in the part. And so I
Yeah.
think that's what's great about him is he just does it for the work. He's like, okay, is there something I can get out of this character? Will this be fun to do? He's like he doesn't care about awards, which is great. He says he's never done a movie for the award.
Yeah, I mean,
So
and he's just such a fun performer to
yeah.
watch. Like, I'm never gonna complain about getting him on the screen or anything.
Oh
He
yeah.
just, and I think yeah, that goes to like the roles he chooses to pick that like add to that idea of him and his
Yeah,
performance ability.
absolutely. But yeah, um, I don't have anything else that I can think of. Do you have anything else that we didn't mention um,
Uh,
about this movie?
yeah, but when he's trying to convince I think it's Big J that he's healthy now, he tells him that he cut out pork, cartoons, and minimal white women. That just stuck with me.
Yeah,
um yeah, that's that. I mean, it's just a bunch of little things after that, but that he had a few just like really unexpectedly delightful lines in this.
yeah, yeah. I love that part too because Big J just looks at him. He's like, "No, no, stop." Just
I love the oh yeah, because it's with the it's not Big J. He's saying it to the like the
he's saying
warden
it to
or the
Troy.
sheriff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's saying it
and
to
it's
Troy, the union rep.
I love that he's like, yeah, man. I know the thing you had like the biggest problem with me about was like too much pork and cartoons and the white women.
Not
Like,
Troy. What is his name? Troy was Peter Sturmer's character. Ralph Seeger, president of the Vampire. Yeah, he was saying it
yeah,
to Seeger. Yeah,
I just call him the police chief in my mind. Like he's just there to like take your badge and gun and then give it back.
yeah.
Um,
Oh man, yeah,
but yeah, just
yeah.
delightful.
I will say this got a great soundtrack to it. Very there's a lot of uh great 90s rap and hip hop songs in this that were like just was like perfect for the tone of the movie. Um
Absolutely. And then they had a really great song playing when Snoop Dogg brings out Big Bertha at the mall, called Body Count.
yes,
And
yeah,
that song hit because like before that, it's mostly West Coast, some East Coast hip hop is like the big needle drops, and then like this
yeah,
like rock song kind of comes on and
yeah,
just it really just like elevates things for me in that
yeah.
scene.
Body Count was Ice-T's rock side project he did for a very short while. But
Oh wow, so it's still
yeah,
in the hip hop family then.
yeah, yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm wearing my Wu Tang
There
shirt
you
right
go.
now, so I got to give a shout out to Shimmy Shimmy Ya. playing.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, not it wasn't really like coast specific because he's East Coast,
Mm,
but it
yeah.
still worked. I know that like they were at the beginning with California Love playing and
Yeah.
really trying to get the West Coast aesthetic, but eventually they kind of go all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just think they were going for just a vibe, whatever the scene provided for it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. But great music.
oh yeah. No, it was great soundtrack, lots of fun. Just I don't know. I think that if you go back to like what we were saying before, if you're just wanting like an easy, fun, um, kind of goofy action flick, that's got some horror in it, and it's got a lot of comedy throughout. This you can't go wrong with this movie. It's very
Yeah,
much a Netflix movie. It's they make it for like the most common denominator of viewers on
the algorithm.
Netflix. Yeah. But occasionally they do have some gems. I like, I will, trot out They Clone Tyrone again. That is kind of the antithesis of everything that I would think would be on Netflix. And yet they somehow, you know, do that here and there. That was something I saw recently too, because um, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have a new movie on Netflix, and they were talking about
The rip.
how the rip, yeah, and they were talking on some show recently about how Netflix, and this has already come out, how Netflix wants um, lots of exposition spoken at least 3 or 4 times during the movie, spoken out loud, so that people who are on their phones can sort of still pay attention to what's going on the screen,
Yeah,
um, which is unfortunate. And then Ben Affleck was saying they also said that they want the big action sequence, which is normally reserved for the third act. They want that at the very beginning because that's when most people are most engaged with the movie.
mm-hmm.
Um, and so, but Matt Damon did say, though, that while that does happen, and you do see that, there are random things on Netflix that surpass what might they because they do put stuff on, like they referenced the TV show Adolescence, that's on there, that's getting all kinds of awards, got all kinds of Golden Globe awards, that show doesn't meet any of that stuff, and still did well and won awards and everything else like that. So it's like, sure, they have their way of wanting to do things with Netflix, but there's still things that they will put on there that go completely against all of that and still do well. And so
Yeah,
I like that Netflix is still putting things out. It's not just for their weird, like, setup, exposition heavy, big action sequence in the front. I like that they're kind of mixing it up here and there, with a lot of their stuff. So it's
totally.
not a hard and fast rule.
Yeah, no, and I
So
mean, I, as much as I'm like very, like, I'm very willing to give shit to streamers. Studio notes are nothing new, like from the time of like
absolutely.
Even Mel Brooks, like he used to have stories about like, yeah, like a studio head would want to give me notes on Blazing Saddles, and my
Yeah.
method was the same every time. Like I would nod, say yes, and then throw the note in the trash
Yeah.
and do what I was gonna do. So like, I think there is like always gonna be like that push and pull of like a studio versus a creative, and if
Absolutely.
you're lucky and privileged enough, you're in a position to kind of push back on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right. Well, that's all I have. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on the show and yeah, talking about this movie with me. It was a fun time. Um, I hope you had fun as well.
I did indeed. Thank you so much
All
for having
right.
me on. This is delightful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to get you on again sometime in the future.
Yes, and we'll have to
Um,
get you on to Frankenstein's podcast one of these
Absolutely. I would
days.
love to guest. Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be awesome. All right. Well, why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
Yeah, you can mostly find me and what I'm up to with my various projects on Instagram at nappy underscore Gilmore underscore.
I gotta say, I love
Um,
that name, by the way. That was so funny.
thank you, thank you. I've been very proud of it for the over 10 years I've been going by it. It's my alter ego. So yeah, just nappy underscore Gilmore underscore on Instagram. That'll give you like most of the info on all the fun stuff I'm working on. And also follow the Frankenstein's podcast on Instagram as well. You can search it through Frankenstein's podcast. Subscribe wherever you listen.
All right. All right. Well, thanks again. And like I said, we'll get you on again in the future. Um, and until then, stay creepy. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.